Good morning, I'm Bradley Miller, and this is my wife Peggy Miller, and you're watching the Miller Morning Meditation Minutes with Grace Connections Church. And today we're in Mark 9, 2 through 13, the Transfiguration. So, what were your thoughts on this?
What struck me was I absolutely love Peter. Because he doesn't know what to do, but he's all about action. He's terrified. He's scared to. Who wouldn't be scared? You go up there with one guy that you've been hanging around with, and all of a sudden there's Moses and Elijah, and they're this really bizarre. But he doesn't let fear stand in his way. He's like, let's get busy. Let's build tents. And I love that because so often my response to fear or not knowing what to do is, let's just get going. Let's just do something. Mm-hmm. Let's not just sit here. Let's move forward, even if we aren't necessarily doing something that makes sense. Let's just do something. Mm-hmm. And so I love that.
Yeah. It's like, Rabbi, it's good we're here. I'm like, I don't know what I'd say either, but that just kind of is like...
It's good that we're here. Can we go now, please?
Yeah. So, and, it looks like Jesus is... I can't even imagine that. Like, picturing, suddenly seeing Jesus' clothes, look like the Mr. Clean Eraser went to town on him, and
Well, what I'm thinking, that part reminded me of was the time that we were up in South Dakota, and I was sitting by the pond, and the sun was rising, and then the sun caught the water, and it was so very bright that I couldn't stand to look at it. Mm-hmm. And that's what that reminds me of. Whenever it says that his clothing was so very, very white, that it must have been, and it's similar to Moses when his face shone and he had to keep it covered. It must have been that intense white, very, very pure, go like this, and so maybe the tents were self-defense. Let's build some tents, because I can't stand this.
And again, this is another example where Jesus is like, by the way, shh, keep this on the down low, because he's telling them to tell no one what they had seen until the Son of Man has risen from the dead. So can you imagine, okay, we're not going to speak of this. And they're like, until when? Because they're not understanding the whole what's going to happen next.
But this time they seem to follow that direction. I don't remember them, everybody else goes right out and just starts telling people. Mm-hmm. But how would you even begin to describe that? Mm-hmm. Without, the people that if they would try to tell someone, they can't prove it. All the people who are physically healed, they could be like, yeah, look, see, I can move now. And you can prove it. But this, if they go and they say, yeah, Jesus, and we went up the mountain, and all of a sudden Moses and Elijah were there, and then they all started, we couldn't look at them because this happened, and it's a very important thing. I don't mean to make light of it, but when it's over with, how on earth would you go and then say what had happened? Mm-hmm. Because this is the point where it absolutely crosses the line from Jesus functioning as man to Jesus functioning as God. Mm-hmm. And not that he wasn't God before,
but this is just
this is where his ministry takes that turn.
Further manifestation of, okay, this is...
Yeah. Now my ministry is all about not healing physical. Now my ministry is all about the spiritual.
And this cloud, this is my beloved Son, listen to him. Those words, I think we can gloss over those sometimes. This is my beloved Son, listen to him. But how powerful is that when we have the Bible and the letters are written in red, which our Bible doesn't have that version, but those things that are written in red, those things that Jesus specifically said, this is one of the directives. This is my beloved Son. Listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people go through and they're like, look at all of this stuff from Leviticus, all of the punishments, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus took all of those things. He flipped all of. He is the fulfillment of all the reason for the laws. He's the sacrificial lamb that's dying in our place. And this directive, listen to what he says.
And I like how actually the footnotes pointed it out. I'm not that smart. But it pointed out how Moses is like the number one keeper of the law. And Elijah is the number one keeper of prophecy. And Jesus came to fulfill the law and the prophecy. And so those things have passed away. And when they pass away, Jesus is left standing there. And it's not that he came to radically alter the law. He actually, in a lot of ways, intensifies some of the things. That he brings out the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law, which is what the Old Testament was all about, proving you cannot follow the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't say, okay, well, that's just all out the window. Go
do whatever.
Yeah, go do whatever. Adultery is now fine, and murder is now fine, and lying and stealing is now fine. He doesn't say that. He doesn't throw out all of that. But he kept all of those things. And he's shifted it to help people understand that it's all about relationships. And whenever you commit adultery, whenever you're not living in truth with people, when you're stealing their, and when you're coveting, and when you don't have the right priorities of have no God before me,
mm-hmm.
things get all messed up and relationships get damaged. Not only your relationship with God, but your relationship with the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And if all of your actions are based on watching that priority of God first, and then living in right relationship with the people around you, you're just going to have less problems. Just like if they would have followed those directions back in Leviticus, they would have had less problems because they would have had less sickness. Because a lot of them had to do with cleanliness and all of that. That was a total tangent off on the side.
Sorry, that's an added bonus this morning. So read through 9, 2 through 13, and share your comments either on YouTube or on Facebook, and we will catch you tomorrow.